Welcome back, fellow seekers of the shadows. You've tuned into Stories of Crime, the place where the veil between the mundane and the monstrous is brutally ripped away. Tonight, we aren't just reading a report. We are opening a file, marked top priority, tucked away in the darkest corner of the archives. We're going to step across that chalk line and peer into the void, where human nature meets its most terrifying extremes. In this hour, the street lights flicker, the shadows deepen, and the truth is often far more chilling than any fiction you could invent. Forget the heroes. Tonight, we focus on the villains. On the motives that curdle the blood, and the consequences that echo forever. So, dim the lights. Lock your doors. Take a deep, steadying breath, because once the story begins, there's no turning back. This is Stories of Crime. And the case we're unfolding tonight is Trent's last case. Look. Welcome, listeners, to a fascinating journey into the labyrinthine mind of E.C. Bentley, and specifically, to the very first chapter, book, of his seminal work, Trent's Last Case. This novel is not merely a whodunit, it's a philosophical exploration, a masterful subversion of an entire genre. It invites us to question the very foundations of detective fiction, challenging our preconceived notions of truth, evidence, and human fallibility, even within the most brilliant minds. Imagine a detective so astute, so piercingly intelligent, they appear almost godlike in their ability to unravel the most complex of crimes. Every clue meticulously observed, every deduction flawlessly executed, every piece of the puzzle slotting into place with an almost divine precision. We are conditioned to expect this. From Sherlock Holmes to Hercule Poirot, the genre hinges on an extraordinary individual capable of seeing what others cannot, of connecting dots invisible to the common observer. Their judgment is often presented as absolute, their conclusions undeniable. This is the bedrock upon which our trust in the narrative, and in the fictional justice system, is built. But what if, at the very peak of their investigative prowess, at the moment of their most profound triumph, this seemingly infallible mind, this beacon of logic and reason, were to arrive at a conclusion that was, despite all appearances of perfection, utterly and completely wrong? What if the solution they so elegantly constructed, one that could withstand any scrutiny, one that perfectly explained every single piece of evidence, every motive, every opportunity, was still a grand and magnificent deception? This, my friends, is the profound, unsettling paradox that Trent's last case so audaciously presents. It's a narrative tightrope walk, a delightful intellectual tease that forces us to reconsider the very nature of certainty itself. The book asks us to ponder whether a perfect explanation, even one derived from impeccable logic, can ever truly equate to absolute truth, especially when human nature, with all its quirks and complexities, is involved. It's a challenge to our very perception of narrative authority, a gentle whisper in our ear suggesting that sometimes, the most elegant solutions are merely the most convincing lies. Now, let us delve into the core premise that sets the stage for this intellectual drama, the tension between the perfect crime and the imperfect detective. Conceptual explanation: detective fiction often presents a duality. On one side, the perfect crime, a meticulously planned, seemingly unsolvable act, designed to leave no trace, no logical pathway to the perpetrator. It is a testament to human ingenuity in its most nefarious form. On the other stands the imperfect detective, a character, however brilliant, who is still fundamentally human, subject to biases, prone to misinterpretation, and limited by available information. The genre's classic resolution lies in the imperfect detective, through sheer intellect and perseverance, dismantling the perfect crime. They find the flaw, the overlooked detail, the human error that cracks the facade of perfection. This dynamic provides satisfying catharsis, chaos brought to order, the clever villain outsmarted. Trent's last case subtly prepares us for this dance, only to pull the rug out. It suggests the possibility of a perfect explanation emerging from an imperfect perspective, not necessarily a perfect truth. Real-world practical example: consider the Zodiac Killer. Decades later, despite a wealth of evidence including letters, ciphers, and witness testimonies, the killer's identity remains officially unknown. This represents a near-perfect crime in its execution of anonymity, leaving investigators with tantalizing clues that have resisted definitive interpretation. Detectives, brilliant minds working tirelessly, have pieced together profiles, theories, and suspects, but no universally accepted solution has emerged. The crime achieved its perfection not through an absence of evidence, but Introduction. Chapter Introduction. Trent's last case. Welcome, discerning listener, to a journey back in time, to an era when the golden age of detective fiction was just beginning to cast its long, captivating shadow across the literary landscape. We are about to embark on an unparalleled exploration of E.C. Bentley's seminal work, Trent's Last Case, a novel that not only entertained its initial readership but, more profoundly, fundamentally reshaped and reimagined the entire landscape of the mystery genre. This isn't merely a story of crime and detection, though it is certainly that in its finest form. It is, at its heart, a profound and intricate commentary on the nature of truth itself, on the often fragile construct of perception, and on the enduring, often fallible human element that is inextricably woven into every facet of the pursuit of justice. Today, we delve into the very first chapter, an introduction that, far from being a mere functional prelude, stands as a masterclass in literary craftsmanship. It's a testament to Bentley's skill in meticulously setting the scene, in deftly establishing the overarching tone, and in subtly, almost imperceptibly, introducing the intricate, multi-layered web of deceit, human frailty, and unexpected revelations that will come to define our entire narrative. Consider this your formal invitation, your exclusive pass, to look beyond the obvious, to question every single assumption you might instinctively make, and to prepare your intellect for a literary experience that remains as fresh, as challenging, and as exquisitely provocative today as it was when first published over a century ago. Our unwavering focus will be on understanding precisely how Bentley, with an almost surgical precision and a profound understanding of narrative dynamics, lays the meticulous groundwork for what will become one of the most famous and critically acclaimed failures in the annals of detective fiction. And he does so, remarkably, even as he simultaneously presents it, initially at least, as a dazzling and unassailable display of investigative prowess. We will rigorously explore the critical and foundational elements that make this introduction so profoundly impactful, dissecting its manifold layers to reveal the underlying genius and the foresight that permeates every carefully chosen word. Get ready to witness the very beginning of a legend, a detective whose name would become synonymous with brilliance, albeit one whose legend, in this particular instance, is tempered by an ultimate, humbling, and utterly fascinating defeat. The initial pages of any truly great novel serve a purpose far grander than simply introducing characters or events. They act as the architect's most detailed blueprint, meticulously outlining not just the physical dimensions but also the very spirit and soul of the world we are about to inhabit. In Trent's last case, Bentley doesn't just sketch a rudimentary world, he paints it with broad, confident, and deeply evocative strokes, inviting us not merely into a story, but into a particular moment in history, a specific and rigid social milieu, and a psychological landscape that is already fraught with an almost tangible tension. Our role, as your dedicated guide through this rich literary landscape, is to illuminate these initial brush strokes, to show you in intricate detail how each one contributes to the eventual masterpiece, and to uncover the subtle, often overlooked foreshadowing that makes repeated readings so profoundly rewarding. We're not merely reading a story here, we are, together, deconstructing a classic, understanding its intricate mechanics, and appreciating its enduring, revolutionary legacy. So, settle in comfortably, open your mind fully to new perspectives, and prepare to see Trent's last case through a fresh, more analytical, and deeply appreciative lens, beginning with its deceptively simple, yet utterly profound, introduction. Section 1. Establishing the narrator's voice as a chronicler of Philip Trent's most famous failure. Conceptual explanation, from the Ver. Chapter 1. The shocking news. Chapter 1. The shocking news. Imagine, if you will, the serene hush of a sprawling English country estate just as dawn reluctantly paints the sky with its first delicate strokes of rose and gold. Birds begin their morning chorus, a gentle, innocent symphony. The scent of dew-kissed grass and blooming roses drifts lazily on the crisp air. It's a scene of perfect tranquility, a picturesque tableau designed to lull the soul into a sense of peace. But this particular morning, this idyllic calm is about to be shattered with a force that will reverberate far beyond the manicured lawns of the Manderson estate, echoing through the hallowed halls of international finance and shaking the very foundations of global commerce. This is the moment when the world first learns of an unthinkable tragedy, a crime that will bewilder investigators, captivate the public, and challenge the most brilliant minds. This is where our story truly begins, with a discovery so profound, so utterly unexpected, that it freezes time itself. Let us now delve into the precise sequence of events, dissecting each critical detail that sets the stage for our intricate mystery. The narrative typically starts with the discovery of the body, often by a domestic staff member. This sets the initial scene, introduces the victim, and immediately establishes the core mystery. The time of discovery is crucial, as it marks the official commencement of the investigation and helps establish a timeline for potential events leading up to the death. The environment in this case, a garden, can offer vital clues, or perhaps, a perplexing absence of them. The mundane routine of a household is abruptly interrupted, creating a stark contrast between the ordinary and the horrifying. This contrast heightens the drama and underscores the unexpected nature of the crime, suggesting that the victim was caught unawares, or that the act itself was committed with a certain audacity. The immediate moments post-discovery are often chaotic, a flurry of disbelief and panic before any semblance of order can be established. On this fateful morning, it was Horace, the estate's diligent under-gardener, who stumbled upon the horror. He had risen before the sun, as was his custom, to attend to the delicate orchids in the heated glass house. The air was still cool, clinging with the dampness of early morning. As he made his way across the sprawling lawn towards the rose garden, his basket of shears clinking softly, something caught his eye amidst the meticulously pruned bushes. A figure, oddly positioned, slumped against an ancient stone sundial, partially obscured by an overgrown rambling rose. He approached cautiously, his brow furrowed with mild annoyance, assuming it was one of the stable lads having perhaps too much to drink the previous night and finding an unconventional spot to sleep off the revelry. But as he drew nearer, a chilling dread began to seep into his bones, replacing his initial irritation. The figure was impeccably dressed, not in stable attire, but in formal evening wear, albeit disheveled. And then he saw the face, pale and lifeless, staring blankly upwards. It was Sigsbee Manderson, the master of the house, his eyes wide open, but utterly devoid of life. Horace's shears dropped with a metallic clatter, the sound jarringly loud in the profound silence. This initial discovery is more than just an event, it's the genesis of the entire mystery. It establishes the victim in situ, providing the raw, unfiltered evidence of the crime scene before any official intervention. The location, the garden, is significant. Is it a place of deliberate staging, or did the crime occur elsewhere, with the body moved? The time of discovery, early morning, suggests the death happened either late at night or in the very early hours, limiting the window of opportunity for the perpetrator. The unexpectedness, the finding by a common staff member, grounds the narrative in realism and highlights the sudden intrusion of violence into an otherwise tranquil existence. It also immediately raises questions about W. Chapter 2, Enter Philip Trent. We've just left the chilling discovery of Sigsbee Manderson's body, a scene steeped in mystery and unanswered questions, one that has plunged the serene setting of White Gables into sudden, shocking disarray. Now, as the narrative unfolds, we prepare to greet a character who will become our primary guide, our intellectual detective, and indeed, the very lens through which we attempt to decipher this perplexing crime. Welcome to Chapter 2, Enter Philip Trent, a pivotal moment where the true, nuanced investigation begins to take shape, and the first ripples of incisive, deductive reasoning spread across the tranquil, yet now undeniably troubled, waters of the Manderson estate. This is not just the arrival of a man, it's the arrival of a distinctive intellect, a fresh and often ironic perspective, and a charming, almost deceptively casual approach to the grim business of murder. He steps into a world still reeling from shock and confusion, bringing with him not a formal police badge or the rigid protocols of officialdom, but a sharpened wit, an artist's eye, and a journalist's insatiable curiosity. His presence fundamentally shifts the dynamic, moving us from passive observation of a crime scene to active, engaged inquiry. We'll explore how his initial impressions, seemingly light-hearted and often delivered with a wry smile, are in fact deeply analytical and intensely observational, meticulously laying the groundwork for the intricate unraveling of a most unusual case. Get ready to observe the master at work, as he subtly assesses, questions, and begins to piece together the fragments of truth that others might overlook, all while maintaining an air of detached amusement. Our story takes a fascinating and rather unconventional turn as we delve into the origins of Philip Trent's involvement in the Manderson murder. Unlike a typical police procedural where official channels dictate the investigation from the outset, Trent is not a Scotland Yard detective, nor is he affiliated with local law enforcement in any official capacity. Instead, he's a prominent freelance artist, renowned for his illustrative work, and an occasional, yet highly esteemed, journalist. He possesses a unique blend of artistic sensibility, which lends him a keen eye for detail and aesthetics, and an inherent logical acumen, making him an ideal, albeit unusual, choice for a specific kind of assignment. He's approached by a major London newspaper, often referred to simply as the paper or the Daily Record, to cover the Manderson murder. This isn't just about reporting the bare facts of a crime, it's about providing a distinctive narrative, a keen analytical perspective, and perhaps even a solution that regular, beat reporting journalists might miss. The newspaper recognizes Trent's established reputation for intellectual insight, his ability to see beyond the obvious, and his talent for articulating complex ideas with clarity and wit, making him an invaluable asset in a high-profile case designed to boost readership and enhance the paper's prestige. His recruitment highlights the blurred lines between journalism and detective work in early 20th century fiction, a period where the press often played an active, investigative role, not merely a reporting one. It underscores the public's insatiable thirst for detailed, dramatic accounts of crime, and the media's readiness to deliver, even if it means sponsoring a private, intellectual detective to achieve that aim. To provide a real-world practical example, think of the sensational true crime reporting of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Newspapers competed fiercely to break stories and offer the most compelling angles on major crimes. While Trent's situation is fictional, it mirrors real instances where journalists, sometimes those with specialized skills or a reputation for independent thought, were tasked not just with reporting police updates, but with digging deep, conducting their own interviews, following leads, and even theorizing on potential solutions. Imagine a modern equivalent, a top TI. Chapter 3, The Broken Routine. Welcome back, listeners, to a deeper exploration of Trent's last case. In this chapter, The Broken Routine, we delve into the seemingly ordinary life of a man whose sudden death shatters the mundane, revealing layers of complexity and deception. Imagine a finely tuned clock, each cog interlocking with precision, marking the predictable passage of time. Then, imagine that clock suddenly stopping, its hands frozen in an arbitrary position. What do? You don't just look at the stop time, you examine the mechanism, the winding, the history, searching for the crack, the misalignment, the single moment where predictability dissolved into chaos. This is precisely what we must do with Manderson. His life, by all accounts, was a meticulous rhythm of habits and expectations. Yet, in the hours leading up to his demise, this rhythm began to falter, sending subtle, almost imperceptible ripples through the fabric of his existence. These ripples, these deviations from the expected, are our most crucial clues. They whisper of a man grappling with something profound, something that irrevocably altered the course of his final moments. Our first, indispensable task is to meticulously reconstruct the timeline of Manderson's last day. This isn't just about noting down events, it's about painting a vivid, minute-by-minute picture of his movements, his interactions, and his state of being. Think of it as forensic archaeology for the day itself. We're not merely listing what happened, but when it happened, where it happened, and who observed it. Conceptually, understanding a timeline provides the bedrock for all subsequent investigation. It gives us a sequential narrative, a structured framework against which all testimonies, all physical evidence, and all theories must be measured. Without this foundation, we are adrift in a sea of isolated facts. It's the difference between seeing scattered pieces of a jigsaw puzzle and having the box lid with the complete picture. The timeline allows us to orient every piece. A practical example might begin with the housekeeper's morning observations, Manderson's breakfast preferences, his usual time of rising, perhaps a particular newspaper he always read. Did he follow this routine? Or did he deviate? Then, we move to his departure, the time he left the house, the mode of transport he took. Was he alone? Who saw him last? What was his destination? Even the seemingly insignificant detail, like the time he received a particular phone call or wrote a short note, suddenly gains immense significance. We track his lunch, his afternoon appointments, any visitors, his return home. Each data point, however small, becomes a vital waypoint on his final journey. For instance, if a witness states Manderson was at a certain location at 2 p.m., and another places him elsewhere at 2:05 p.m., this demands scrutiny. Was there a mistake? Or is there a deeper, more sinister implication? Why it matters is profound. A precise timeline allows us to establish alibis, or, crucially, to dismantle them. It helps us pinpoint windows of opportunity for potential foul play. If Manderson was last seen alive at 8 p.m., and his body discovered at 6 a.m., the timeline defines the maximum duration of the crime. But if we can narrow that window through other observations, perhaps a neighbor heard a strange noise at 11 p.m., or a light was seen in Manderson's study until midnight, the timeline becomes a powerful tool for exclusion and focus. It eliminates impossible scenarios and concentrates our investigative efforts on the plausible. Every minute unaccounted for, every discrepancy in witness statements, every gap in the chronological sequence becomes a beacon pointing towards uncertainty, towards potential deceit, towards the very heart of the mystery. It is the skeletal structure upon which the flesh of the narrative is built. Next, we must highlight the anomalies in Manderson's routine, specifically his mood and cryptic comments. The human psyche is a complex landscape, often revealing its deepest truths through the subtle tremors beneath. Chapter 4: The Silent Witness. Welcome back to our journey through Trent's last case. In our previous chapter, we grappled with the initial shock, the stark reality of Sigsbee Manderson's sudden demise, and the perplexing setting that encased his final moments. Now, as the immediate urgency of discovery gives way to the methodical pursuit of truth, we descend into the crucial, often overlooked, realm of physical evidence. This is where the silent witnesses speak loudest. These aren't just inanimate objects, they are storytellers. Each scratch, each fold, each forgotten item, a whispered clue waiting for the right ear to listen. For the master detective, the crime scene is a vast, unwritten narrative, and the first act of understanding is to read its silent language. Chapter 4, The Silent Witness, invites us to join Philip Trent as he meticulously begins to decipher the intricate puzzle laid out before him, focusing not on grand theories, but on the intimate, undeniable details left behind. Trent's approach, as we witness in this chapter, is a masterclass in forensic observation long before the term was commonplace. He understands that the victim's body, and particularly their clothing, forms the innermost layer of the crime scene. It's the most personal set of clues, often bearing the direct impact of the final events. A conceptual explanation here is the idea of proximate evidence, clues found directly on or immediately around the victim, offering insights into their state, their actions, and any interaction with others just prior to death. Think of it as peeling back the very first layer of an onion, getting closest to the core of what truly happened. Consider a practical example. A modern investigator would systematically document every item of clothing, noting its condition, cleanliness, any rips, tears, or stains. They would check pockets for contents, not just what's there, but what's not there. The way a shirt is buttoned, a tie knotted, or even the direction of a trouser crease can offer minute insights. If Manderson's waistcoat was askew, or his tie slightly loosened in an unusual way, Trent would log it. He might even consider the material of the suit. Was it appropriate for the season? Was it expensive, suggesting a man of means, or surprisingly worn, hinting at a change in circumstance? Why does this meticulous examination matter? Because it establishes a baseline, a normal state for the victim's immediate surroundings. Any deviation from this baseline becomes a potential clue. An unbuttoned cuff could suggest a struggle or a hurried attempt to remove something. A specific type of lint in a pocket might point to an earlier location. Every detail helps build a chronological understanding of the victim's last hours, potentially contradicting initial assumptions or leading to new avenues of inquiry. It helps to tell the story of the very end, and in Manderson's case, it quickly raises immediate red flags about the expected versus the actual. And then we come to the shoes. A seemingly minor detail, yet for Trent, it screams louder than any shout. Manderson, a wealthy, prominent man, is found wearing oversized, shabby patent leather boots. This isn't just unusual, it's an active, glaring inconsistency. Conceptually, this embodies the anomaly principle in detective work. When something doesn't fit the established pattern or known character of the victim, it immediately becomes a point of intense scrutiny. It's the discordant note in an otherwise expected symphony. This isn't just about poor taste, it's about a stark, unexplained deviation from what would be typical for Manderson. Imagine a real-world parallel. A victim known for always wearing bespoke, highly polished leather shoes is found in cheap, plastic trainers several sizes too large. Or, perhaps, a woman found in a formal gown is wearing muddy gardening boots. In cold cases, investigators have sometimes revisited evidence, finding a single mismatched shoe at a scene, which, when traced, led to a completely different location or person, solving the case. The Boots Manderson. Chapter 5, The Wife. Welcome back, listeners, to our deep dive into Trent's last case. We've explored the perplexing crime scene, met the initial cast of characters, and observed Philip Trent's incisive early investigations. Now, we arrive at Chapter 5, The Wife, a pivotal moment that irrevocably shifts the course of the entire narrative and, crucially, reshapes Trent's professional detachment. This chapter introduces us to the central figure of the tragedy, Mrs. Mabel Manderson. Her presence immediately transforms the cold, logical pursuit of truth into a deeply personal, psychologically fraught journey for our protagonist. Here, the lines between duty and desire become inextricably blurred, setting the stage for an investigation complicated not just by facts, but by the potent, often misleading, currents of human emotion. Get ready, for this encounter changes everything. Our first point of exploration is the very essence of their meeting, the first encounter between Trent and Mabel Manderson. Conceptual explanation: this initial interaction is far more than a routine interview, it's a carefully crafted scene designed to establish character dynamics and introduce profound narrative tension. Authors use such moments to immediately imprint a figure onto the reader's consciousness. The setting, a house steeped in recent tragedy, and Mabel's striking appearance and composed demeanor are all meticulously woven together to create an indelible impression on Trent and, by extension, on us, the audience. This is where the abstract concept of the victim's widow transforms into a compelling, captivating individual. Real-world practical example from the chapter: Trent, known for his sharp intellect, arrives at the Manderson estate, ready to process facts. Yet, upon entering the drawing room, the scene is less about evidence and more about immediate human impact. Mabel Manderson is not the hysterically grieving figure one might anticipate. Instead, she possesses a striking, almost ethereal beauty, coupled with an arresting stillness amidst the chaos. Her simple black dress accentuates a tragic elegance. Her eyes, described with particular emphasis, hold a deep, ancient sorrow that transcends mere shock, hinting at profound personal history. She answers Trent's questions in a low, controlled voice, her precision belying her immense burden. She is neither overtly distraught nor coldly indifferent. She embodies a powerful, almost statuesque, grief, demonstrating an inner strength battling an overwhelming private pain. Why it matters: this initial encounter is a foundational moment for the entire novel. It immediately humanizes Mabel, transforming her from a mere name in the case file into a complex, sympathetic, and utterly compelling figure. By presenting her not as a conventional widow or an obvious suspect, but as an intricately composed individual, Bentley ensures that our perceptions, like Trent's, are immediately challenged. This portrayal instills doubt, fosters empathy, and critically, lays the groundwork for the deep personal and professional conflict that will define Trent's investigation. It elevates the narrative from a simple puzzle to a profound human drama, infusing it with a poignant beauty that complicates every subsequent clue. Our second major point dissects the immediate and unsettling impact Mabel has on Trent, his swift and profound infatuation with her, which drastically complicates his objectivity. Conceptual explanation: this phenomenon, where an investigator's professional judgment becomes compromised by personal feelings, is a classic and powerful literary device in detective fiction. It introduces a fundamental internal conflict, a battle between duty and emotion. The detective, whose primary role is impartial logic, suddenly finds themselves grappling with an unforeseen emotional attachment. This isn't a minor distraction, it's a potent force that can undermine their entire methodology, potentially leading them down false paths or blinding them to critical details. It questions the very nature of truth when filtered through. Chapter 6, The Secretary. Welcome back, astute listeners, to the unfolding, intricate mystery of Trent's last case. We have, in previous chapters, meticulously examined the stark, brutal reality of the crime scene itself. We've grappled with the initial, perplexing absence of a weapon, an anomaly that immediately challenged conventional assumptions, and observed the master detective, Philip Trent, as he meticulously sifts through the myriad fragments of tragedy, searching for the elusive truth. Now, as our journey progresses, our focus shifts. The stark reality of the isolated crime scene, with its chilling silence, gives way to the intricate, often deceptive, landscape of human relationships. Trent, with his characteristic blend of keen observation and profound understanding of human nature, comprehends implicitly that the ultimate truth doesn't just lie in forensic evidence, in bloodstains, or footprints. It resides far more deeply, hidden within the hearts and minds of those closest to the deceased, those who inhabited his world. As we turn the metaphorical page to Chapter 6, aptly titled The Secretary, we join Trent on a truly pivotal journey, an interview that promises to peel back layers of carefully constructed propriety and reveal the hidden facets of Manderson's complex, perhaps even duplicitous, world. This is where the narrative truly broadens its scope, moving decisively beyond the immediate horror of the murder to probe the subtle, often unseen currents of daily life, those quiet spaces where secrets fester, where grievances silently accumulate, and where motives, both grand and petty, eventually crystallize. Our primary subject today, the man at the epicenter of Trent's initial scrutiny, is John Marlowe, Manderson's private secretary. By the very nature of his demanding and intimate profession, Marlowe held an unparalleled, yet perhaps unseen, vantage point into the life, the routines, and the eventual demise of his employer. Prepare yourselves, my friends, for it is often the most innocuous individuals, those seemingly peripheral figures, who harbor the most profound, the most unsettling, and ultimately, the most critical truths. Trent knows this instinctively, and his approach to Marlowe reflects this deep-seated understanding. John Marlowe now steps into the spotlight, not as a suspect initially, but as a critical witness, presented to us explicitly as Manderson's private secretary. This role, in the grand tapestry of a criminal investigation, particularly within the refined circles of high society often depicted in classic mysteries, is far from mundane. The private secretary often occupies a unique, and indeed deceptively powerful, position. They are, in essence, the ultimate gatekeepers, the meticulous archivists of daily life, privy to the minutiae of an employer's existence, the confidential financial dealings, the deeply personal correspondence, the meticulously planned daily schedules, and even the sensitive, often fraught, emotional exchanges that escape public view. They function as silent witnesses to their employer's power, their ambition, their vulnerabilities, and occasionally, their transgressions. Marlowe's role, therefore, transcends mere administrative tasks. He becomes, by necessity, a confidant, an enabler, and sometimes, through sheer proximity, an unwitting repository of dangerous or incriminating information. He is not just an employee, he is a living dossier of Manderson's sprawling, enigmatic life, a human repository of secrets both mundane and potentially devastating. His proximity to Manderson, both physically in the intimate space of the office and metaphorically in his profound understanding of Manderson's affairs, immediately renders him an indispensable, yet inherently suspicious, character in Trent's evolving, intricate inquiry. He is the very first person Trent interviews who genuinely lived and breathed within Manderson's highly exclusive inner circle, a crucial fact that Trent, with his unparalleled acumen, does not for a moment overlook. His arrival signifies a shift from the objective COL. Chapter 7, The Uncle's Insight. Welcome, dear listener, to Chapter 7 of our deep dive into E.C. Bentley's foundational detective novel, Trent's Last Case. This chapter, aptly titled The Uncle's Insight, marks a significant turning point in the investigation, shifting our perspective from the purely logical and observational to a more personal, character-driven understanding of the late Sigsbee Manderson and the complex web of relationships surrounding his demise. Up until this point, we've primarily seen Manderson through the eyes of the police, through the stark evidence, and through Trent's initial, somewhat detached, artistic and intellectual analysis. But now, the narrative introduces a crucial figure who brings a much-needed human dimension to the unfolding mystery. We are about to witness the power of a subjective yet deeply informed perspective, a perspective that threatens to unravel Trent's meticulously constructed theories and force a re-evaluation of every established fact. Get ready to challenge your assumptions, for the world of the deceased millionaire is about to become far more intricate, far more layered, and infinitely more human. Our story now introduces us to Mr. Cupples, a character whose arrival is both timely and transformative. Mr. Cupples is not merely a peripheral figure, he holds a vital position within the narrative as Mabel Manderson's uncle, a direct familial connection that immediately grants him a unique vantage point on the domestic life and personal history of the household. More than just a relative, Cupples is also revealed to be an old friend of Trent, a detail that subtly yet significantly influences their interactions. This pre-existing bond establishes an immediate rapport, allowing for a level of candid conversation and shared understanding that might otherwise be impossible between an investigator and a witness. Trent, known for his somewhat solitary and intellectual approach, finds in Cupples a peer, someone whose insights he respects, even if they initially contradict his own emerging conclusions. The introduction of Mr. Cupples marks the infusion of genuine human connection and long-standing acquaintance into the often cold machinery of crime detection. He doesn't come bearing forensic evidence or a startling alibi. Instead, he brings a lifetime of observation and a nuanced understanding of character, which, as we will soon see, can be far more potent than any material clue. His presence shifts the focus from what happened to who these people truly were, pushing the investigation into deeper psychological territory. This connection to both Mabel and Trent allows couples to act as a bridge, synthesizing emotional understanding with investigative curiosity, thereby enriching the tapestry of the mystery. He is not merely a source of information but a filter through which existing facts are re-examined, colored by the warmth of familiarity and the weight of personal history. One of the most immediate and impactful contributions Mr. Cupples makes is his starkly different portrayal of Sigsbee Manderson. Where Manderson has largely been depicted as a successful, almost monolithic figure of industry and wealth, Cupples strips away this public persona to reveal a man defined by a relentless, even brutal, business acumen. Cupples' perspective is rooted in a long history of observing Manderson's ascent, an ascent achieved through methods that Cupples clearly views as ruthless. He speaks of Manderson as a man driven by an insatiable hunger for power and profit, someone who would stop at nothing to achieve his financial objectives, often trampling over others in the process. This isn't mere gossip, it's a character assessment born from years of witnessing Manderson's professional conduct. Cupples provides examples of Manderson's aggressive takeovers, his cunning manipulation of markets, and his unwavering resolve to eliminate any competition, regardless of the personal cost to those he outmaneuvered. He paints a picture of a man who viewed human relationships through the lens of utility, valuing loyalty only. Chapter 8: The Puzzle of the Shoes. Welcome back, dear listener, to the labyrinthine corridors of Trent's last case. We've traversed the initial shock of the crime, grappled with the immediate evidence, and now, as we delve deeper into Chapter 8, The Puzzle of the Shoes, we find ourselves at a critical juncture. This chapter isn't merely about footwear, it's about the deepening of a forensic mystery, a subtle yet profound shift in our understanding of what transpired on that fateful night. It's here that the seemingly innocuous can unravel the most carefully constructed deceptions. Prepare to put on your detective hat once more, as we sift through the grains of truth, searching for the larger picture concealed within the mundane. The seemingly trivial detail, in the hands of a sharp observer like Trent, becomes a powerful key. Our journey begins, quite literally, at the victim's feet. Trent, with his keen eye for discrepancies, immediately zeroes in on the shoes found on the deceased. They don't fit. This isn't a minor detail, it's a glaring anomaly. The conceptual explanation here is simple yet profound. Forensic analysis often starts with what doesn't belong, what stands out as incongruous within the scene. In a crime, anything that deviates from the expected pattern of a victim's personal effects demands immediate scrutiny. Ill-fitting clothes, an unfamiliar watch, or indeed, shoes that are clearly not the victim's size, all signal a potential disturbance or staging. A practical example helps solidify this. Imagine a meticulously tidy home, every item in its place, yet a single, mud-caked boot lies abandoned in the pristine hallway. That boot doesn't fit the established pattern of the home or its occupant. Similarly, here, the shoes are out of place, suggesting they were either hastily donned by the victim for an unexpected event, or more chillingly, placed upon him by another. Perhaps they were a prop, meant to deceive. Why it matters, this initial observation is foundational. It immediately introduces an element of artifice, or at least, significant confusion. If the shoes aren't the victims, who do they belong to? Why were they there? Was the victim forced into them? Or was someone else wearing them? This single detail casts doubt on the simplicity of the scene, opening up a Pandora's box of possibilities. It pushes us beyond the initial assumption of a straightforward tragedy and into the realm of intentional manipulation. Trent understands that the story the shoes tell might be more revealing than any eyewitness account. They speak of an unknown actor, or an unknown motive, disrupting the narrative of a solitary death. This seemingly small detail becomes a critical thread, pulling at the fabric of the entire case, suggesting a deeper, more complex human drama unfolding beneath the surface of the apparent facts. As Trent continues his meticulous examination of the premises, another revelation emerges: a second pair of shoes is discovered within the house. This isn't just a matter of finding extra footwear, it's about context and proximity. The conceptual explanation for this discovery is that it immediately complicates the initial shoe puzzle. If the victim was wearing ill-fitting shoes, and now another pair exists, whose are they? And why aren't they on the victim, especially if they are a better fit? This introduces the concept of discarded items, items left behind, or items prepared for use. Consider a practical example. A burglar breaks into a home, intending to steal valuables. In their haste to escape, they might discard their own worn-out sneakers, perhaps having found a more comfortable pair inside, or simply leaving them behind in their panic. Or, conversely, a homeowner might keep an old pair of gardening shoes by the back door. The context surrounding the second pair is crucial. Are they neatly put away, suggesting normal domestic life, or are they abandoned, perhaps near an exit, hinting at a hasty departure or an attempt to change appearance? Trent's focus isn't just on the shoes themselves, but their placement and condition. Why? Chapter 9, A Question of Motive. The fog of initial chaos begins to lift. In Trent's last case, Chapter 9, titled A Question of Motive, marks a pivotal turn. We've journeyed through the unsettling discovery, the initial flurry of interviews, and the tantalizing, often confusing, web of clues left behind by the enigmatic Sigsbee Manderson. Up until now, the narrative has been a masterclass in misdirection and the careful assembly of disparate facts. But here, the focus sharpens, the pieces start to click into place, and a name, whispered at first, then declared with a growing certainty, begins to dominate Trent's deductions. This is the chapter where the abstract concept of a crime starts to gain a human face, where the what and the how subtly, yet inexorably, give way to the infinitely more compelling and dangerous who and, most importantly, why. It's about connecting those seemingly unconnected dots, drawing lines between the scattered elements of the case to reveal a coherent, albeit chilling, picture. Our brilliant amateur detective, Philip Trent, stands poised on the brink of a significant breakthrough, ready to test his theories against the cold, hard reality of human motive. In any complex investigation, a critical juncture arrives where sheer volume of information must yield to focused interpretation. Consolidating evidence is the meticulous process of sifting through abundant data, identifying patterns, discarding irrelevancies, and gathering all incriminating elements that point consistently towards one individual. It's a deliberate, almost surgical, act of intellectual triage. Trent isn't merely observing, he's actively constructing a narrative, building a case brick by brick, ensuring each piece of evidence, no matter how minor, supports his developing hypothesis. This isn't about jumping to conclusions, it's about establishing a robust framework for further scrutiny, moving from vague suspicion to targeted inquiry. It's the art of selective focus, where minor details gain significant weight when viewed through the lens of a particular individual's potential involvement, transforming scattered data into a compelling argument. Consider a real-life detective investigating a burglary. Initially, they might have footprints, a broken window, a missing item, and various witness statements. Consolidation begins when they notice that the footprints match shoes belonging to a known local delinquent, the missing item was seen pawned by the same individual, and a witness recalls seeing that person near the house just before the estimated time of the break-in. Furthermore, the delinquent had recent financial troubles, providing a clear motive. Each piece, on its own, might be circumstantial. But when combined, the footprints, the pawned item, the witness sighting, the financial motive, they consolidate into a powerful body of evidence pointing squarely at one suspect. The detective isn't just collecting, they are connecting, creating a cumulative effect where the whole becomes greater than the sum of its parts. This is precisely what Trent is doing, carefully weaving together the threads of his investigation into a sturdy rope of implication. This phase is absolutely critical because it dictates the entire subsequent direction of the investigation. Without this consolidation, the inquiry would remain diffuse, lacking direction, and prone to chasing red herrings. By focusing on a specific suspect, Frank Marlowe, Trent is able to re-examine all existing evidence through a new lens, asking targeted questions. How does this clue relate to Marlowe? Does this witness statement support or contradict Marlowe's known activities? It allows him to anticipate Marlowe's potential defenses and build a counter-argument. Furthermore, it shifts the detective's mindset from broad observation to specific proof. This strategic narrowing of focus saves time, resources, and prevents the investigation from becoming hopelessly mired in speculation. It provides a foundational hypothesis that can either be strengthened with further evidence or, if proven false. Chapter 10. The theory crystallizes. Chapter 10. The theory crystallizes. Welcome, astute listeners, to Chapter 10 of Trent's last case, a pivotal moment where scattered fragments of evidence finally coalesce into a coherent, unsettling truth. We've watched Philip Trent navigate a labyrinth of contradictory clues and red herrings. Now, he moves beyond mere observation, into the realm of compelling narrative construction. This chapter marks that critical juncture, the very moment Trent weaves disparate threads into a tapestry that tells a clear story. His genius shines as he transforms the amorphous cloud of the unknown into a distinct, shocking form. He is not just a detective, he is the architect of a new reality, where Sigsbee Manderson's seemingly accidental death transforms into something far more sinister and deliberately orchestrated. Prepare yourselves, for the theory is about to crystallize, solidifying into a powerful framework demanding attention and, ultimately, confrontation. Trent's initial task: articulate his conviction for public consumption in a newspaper report. He drafts it with surgical precision and persuasive power, outlining facts, and the logical progression leading to his startling conclusions. Conceptual explanation: drafting a public report is strategic. It structures arguments, presents evidence, and guides readers to a specific conclusion. Trent isn't just listing facts, he's crafting a narrative to reshape public perception, setting the stage. A well-crafted report is a potent intellectual weapon. Real-world practical example: an investigative journalist meticulously structures an article on complex fraud, engaging lead, chronological events, detailed explanations, quotes, and concise summaries. Each paragraph builds to the conclusion. Trent mirrors this, curating details for an undeniable murder case. Why it matters: drafting forces Trent to rigorously test his theory, exposing inconsistencies, and acting as a self-correcting mechanism. By preparing for publication, he creates public accountability, making his theory harder to dismiss, and providing leverage for the confrontation he knows must follow. Now, to the audacious heart of Trent's theory: Manderson was murdered by Arthur Marlowe. This dramatically shifts from accident or suicide to deliberate violence. Trent hypothesizes specifics: either self-defense during a struggle or a quarrel that escalated catastrophically. Conceptual explanation: this hypothesis is a paradigm shift. It proposes murder and narrows the circumstances. Trent sketches the fatal encounter's dynamic, distinguishing self-defense from a quarrel. This implies different culpability, crucial for understanding the tragedy and its legal ramifications. Real-world practical example: a criminal profiler refines a cold case hypothesis. Instead of crime of passion, they theorize impromptu violence, fueled by jealousy, escalating from argument to assault, using a weapon of opportunity. This specificity targets evidence search and interrogation strategy. Why it matters: this specific hypothesis is the linchpin. It directs Trent's focus, shapes evidence interpretation, and dictates next steps. If murder, surrounding characters' dynamics change. Pinpointing Marlowe transforms speculation into a focused accusation, demanding undeniable proof and careful handling. A key pillar supporting Trent's theory lies in the meticulous examination of footprints and car tracks at the scene. These innocuous details, properly interpreted, provide silent testimony contradicting the surface appearance of Manderson's death. Conceptual explanation: footprints and car tracks record movement, chronology, and presence. Their size, depth, direction, and overlap tell a story. In Trent's scenario, they confirm or refute the official narrative, offering objective, irrefutable data independent of witness statements or alibis. Real-world practical example: a detective finds an abandoned car. Fresh tire tracks lead into a forest, older ones to a road. Distinct tread patterns identify specific vehicles. Footprints, victims, and an unknown inn. Chapter 11: The Confrontation. Welcome, dear listener, to a pivotal moment in our journey through Bentley's masterpiece, Trent's Last Case. We've arrived at Chapter 11, aptly titled The Confrontation, and it is here that the simmering tensions boil over, the intellectual chess game reaches its dramatic climax, and Trent, our astute investigator, finally lays his cards on the table. This isn't just a chapter, it's a masterclass in psychological warfare, a meticulously orchestrated duel between intellect and the impenetrable wall of a man's secret. Prepare yourself for a deep dive into the electrifying encounter that defines so much of the narrative's brilliance. We are about to witness Trent challenge Marlowe directly, armed with nothing but the devastating truth. Our first major point of focus is the tense meeting itself, where Trent, with an almost surgical precision, lays out his theory to Marlowe. This isn't a speculative chat, it's a full frontal assault of undeniable facts. Trent doesn't merely hint, he constructs an entire narrative, detailing how Manderson was not murdered by a third party, but rather staged his own death, only for his elaborate plan to go fatally awry. The conceptual explanation here lies in the art of the unassailable argument. Trent has moved beyond mere suspicion to absolute certainty, building his case piece by painstaking piece, connecting seemingly disparate fragments of evidence into a coherent, horrifying tapestry. He presents his deductions not as possibilities, but as established realities, leaving Marlowe with no room to maneuver around the facts themselves. It's the rhetorical equivalent of a perfectly executed checkmate, where every piece is accounted for, every move anticipated. Consider a practical example from our own experience, perhaps in a professional setting. Imagine presenting a complex business proposal where you've anticipated every potential objection, every counter-argument. You don't just state your idea, you back it with data, market analysis, financial projections, and competitor intelligence. Each slide, each bullet point, builds upon the last, culminating in a conclusion that feels inevitable. This mirroring of Trent's approach in our daily lives illustrates the universal power of comprehensive preparation and logical presentation. You're not asking for agreement, You're compelling it through the sheer force of your evidence. Why this matters so profoundly in Trent's last case is multifaceted. Firstly, it elevates Trent from a mere detective to a true intellectual heavyweight. He's not just solving a puzzle, he's deconstructing a carefully constructed lie. This moment solidifies his genius in the reader's mind, reinforcing the novel's core theme of intellect triumphing over deception. Secondly, it creates immense narrative tension. We've been waiting for this reveal, and Trent's eloquent articulation of his theory serves as a powerful release, yet simultaneously ratchets up the stakes. The reader is drawn deeper into the psychological drama, anticipating Marlowe's every flicker of emotion, every nuanced response. It's a testament to the author's skill that such a purely intellectual scene can feel so profoundly dramatic. Now, let's turn our attention to Marlowe's reaction. This is where the chapter truly distinguishes itself. Marlowe listens, he absorbs, he does not deny the facts presented by Trent. Yet, crucially, he refuses to explain the context, to offer any justification or narrative that would alter the cold, hard implications of Trent's theory. The conceptual explanation here is the power of implied consent through silence, or more accurately, implied acknowledgement. By not refuting Trent's reconstruction of events, Marlowe implicitly concedes their accuracy. His refusal to elaborate is a strategic maneuver, maintaining a veil of mystery, preventing Trent, and by extension, the reader, from fully grasping the why behind the what. It's a defiant act of withholding, a refusal to surrender the full story, even as the walls close in. He holds onto his secret as a man might see. Chapter 12, The Verdict. Welcome, dear listener, to a deep and fascinating dive into Trent's last case, as we embark on a profound exploration of Chapter 12, The Verdict. Imagine, for a moment, the hushed intensity of a courtroom, the weighty anticipation that presses down on everyone present. The air is thick with expectation, with a nervous energy that crackles between the stiff collars and somber expressions. This is the stage for the coroner's inquest, a formal investigation into the circumstances of a death, where the cold facts of evidence meet the human need for closure, and sometimes, for convenient truth. We're about to witness how the official narrative is painstakingly constructed, even when deeper, more unsettling truths lurk beneath the surface. This chapter is not just about a legal pronouncement, it's about the very fabric of justice, perception, and the lengths to which individuals will go to protect those they love, even at the cost of public acknowledgement. Our first critical point brings us directly to the heart of the matter, the official inquest where the verdict is delivered as suicide while of unsound mind. Conceptually, this verdict served a crucial function in the social landscape of the era. Suicide, in many societies, carried an immense stigma, often associated with sin or moral failing, denying the deceased religious burial rites and bringing shame upon their family. A verdict of suicide while of unsound mind was a legal and social construct designed to circumvent some of this severity. It acknowledged the act of self-harm but attributed it to a temporary or permanent mental aberration, thereby mitigating the moral condemnation and often allowing for a more conventional burial. It was a compassionate, albeit legally nuanced, way to provide some solace and protect a family's reputation from the full brunt of social ostracization. The law, in essence, provided an escape clause, a delicate balancing act between fact and societal pressure. A practical example within the narrative unfolds precisely this way. We see the carefully orchestrated presentation of evidence, the questioning of witnesses, and the coroner's guiding hand, all subtly directing the jury towards this particular conclusion. The narrative meticulously outlines the testimonies regarding Manderson's reclusive nature, his recent anxieties, and perhaps even the stress of his financial dealings, painting a picture consistent with a man overwhelmed by his circumstances. The details of his final moments, as presented, are interpreted through this lens. The very phrasing used by the coroner, the solemn tone, the carefully selected points of emphasis, these are all geared towards achieving a verdict that closes the case without delving into the more sensational or scandalous possibilities that might otherwise emerge. It's a performance, a ritual, designed to produce a specific, socially acceptable outcome. Why it matters? This verdict matters profoundly because it represents the triumph of social expediency and compassion over a possibly harsher, more accurate truth. For Mabel, it means her husband's memory is spared the full ignominy of an outright suicide verdict, preserving her own social standing and that of her family. It provides a measure of public peace, a neat resolution for the community. However, for those who perceive the deeper truths, like Trent, it creates a gnawing dissonance. It shows how legal systems can be influenced by societal norms and the desire for decorum, sometimes at the expense of absolute factual accuracy, offering a stark reminder that justice can take many forms, not all of them strictly aligned with objective truth. Next, we confront Trent's profound frustration, believing, with growing certainty, that he knows the true murderer, a belief that sharply contrasts with the official findings. Conceptually, this highlights the classic detective's dilemma, having an intuitive, often meticulously reasoned, conviction about the truth, yet being unable to align it with the publicly accepted narrative or insufficient to sway a FO. Chapter 13, The Aftermath. Welcome back, listeners. We've journeyed through the initial shock and frantic investigation, the twists and turns that define any good mystery. Now, as our narrative progresses, we arrive at a point where the immediate storm has seemingly passed, yet its ripples continue to spread, affecting every character involved. Time, that great healer and revealer, begins to work its subtle magic, or perhaps, its quiet deception. This is where relationships, initially forged under pressure or circumstance, begin to deepen, to evolve, or to fray. The dust settles, but what truly lies beneath the surface? What truths remain unburied, quietly shaping destinies? We now jump forward in time. The initial flurry of activity surrounding the death of Sigsbee Manderson has subsided. Officially, the case is closed. For the authorities, the file is sealed, the verdict of suicide firmly entered into the ledger of solved mysteries. This bureaucratic pronouncement, however, stands in stark contrast to the persistent, nagging doubts that plague our detective, Philip Trent. Conceptually, this phenomenon, the official narrative versus personal conviction, is a recurring theme in detective fiction and, indeed, in life itself. A formal resolution often provides little comfort or intellectual closure when one's own faculties suggest otherwise. For Trent, this isn't merely an academic disagreement, it's a profound internal struggle. The practical example here is straightforward. The police, perhaps eager to move on, perhaps genuinely convinced by the evidence presented, have moved on. They have a solution, and that's often enough. The public, too, has largely forgotten the scandal, their attention drawn to newer headlines. But Trent cannot forget. He cannot simply accept. Why it matters so deeply is that this official closure acts as a psychological pressure cooker for Trent. It isolates him, making his continued investigation a solitary, almost rebellious act. It underscores the profound difference between evidence that satisfies a legal framework and evidence that satisfies an inquiring, analytical mind. This divergence from the official narrative is not just a plot device, it's a character-defining moment, forcing Trent to rely solely on his own judgment, against the consensus of the system. It highlights the inherent limitations of formal justice when faced with the subtle intricacies of human deception and hidden motives, pushing the boundaries of what is considered solved. The surface calm belies a simmering undercurrent of unresolved truth. Amidst this quiet official closure, Trent's personal life begins to take an unexpected turn. His relationship with Mabel Manderson, the enigmatic widow, has steadily deepened. This isn't a sudden infatuation, but a gradual, almost inevitable convergence of two souls grappling with the aftermath of tragedy. Conceptually, shared experience, especially one of such intense emotional resonance, often creates powerful, unforeseen bonds. Grief can be a strange unifier, and the search for truth, even if unspoken, can draw people together. A practical example is how Trent and Mabel have spent countless hours in each other's company, initially discussing the case, then transitioning to more personal reflections on life, loss, and the future. He's drawn to her quiet strength, her resilience, her unwavering dignity. She, in turn, finds a unique comfort in Trent's thoughtful presence, his unwavering intellect, and perhaps, his subtle refusal to accept the easy answer. Their conversations are no longer purely about investigation but delve into the complexities of human emotion, the weight of memory, and the tentative hopes for what lies ahead. Why this matters so significantly is that this deepening relationship grounds Trent, pulling him away from being a purely detached observer. It humanizes him, showing his capacity for profound emotional connection. It also adds an entirely new layer of ethical complexity to his pursuit of the truth. How does one reconcile a burgeoning love with an unrelenting suspicion concerning? Chapter 14, The Dinner with Couples. Welcome back to our continuing exploration of Trent's last case, a narrative masterfully dissecting perception, deduction, and the fragility of absolute certainty. We stand now at Chapter 14, The Dinner with Couples, a pivotal moment. The carefully constructed edifice of Philip Trent's investigation begins to show its first hairline cracks. Up to this point, Trent has operated with unwavering confidence, presenting a solution to the Manderson murder that felt irrefutable. But what happens when an outsider, an individual of keen intellect yet distinct perspective, scrutinizes the foundations of that certainty? This chapter invites us to witness a fascinating intellectual duel, a profound re-evaluation challenging not just Trent's conclusions, but the very nature of truth in detective work. It's a compelling reminder, even brilliant minds benefit from fresh eyes, especially when stakes involve a man's freedom, or justice itself. Our first point brings us to Trent meeting with Mr. Couples for dinner to discuss his upcoming marriage. Conceptual explanation: this initial meeting is ostensibly social, a warm gathering where Trent's impending nuptials take center stage. Yet, beneath polite conversation, a deeper purpose emerges. Couples, an older, wiser figure, represents a steadying, mentor-like influence. His visit, at this crucial juncture, isn't just about celebrating personal happiness, it's a sounding board, a chance for Trent to process recent professional triumphs and their implications. This moment of transition sees personal joy intersect with unresolved professional complexity. Practical example: consider a young, successful lawyer, fresh from a major victory, meeting a revered retired judge. While discussing the lawyer's engagement, conversation naturally drifts to the recent case. The judge, through gentle probing, might subtly encourage reflection on the case's nuances, perhaps offering a different angle without overtly challenging the verdict. This dinner isn't just about the food, it's an unspoken invitation for deeper scrutiny, framed by personal friendship. Why it matters: this social setting is strategically brilliant. It disarms Trent, making him more receptive to criticism. The personal connection fosters trust, allowing Couples' later challenges to land with greater impact. It emphasizes that critical analysis isn't always adversarial, it can be supportive, refining thought and preventing missteps. It grounds Trent, reminding us of his humanity amidst intellectual rigor. This blend of personal and professional sets a powerful stage. Next, they revisit the details of the Manderson case. Conceptual explanation: as dinner progresses, conversation inevitably circles back to the Manderson murder. This isn't casual reminiscing, it's a deliberate intellectual exercise. Trent, with characteristic enthusiasm, recounts his established theory, reiterating facts and deductions. Couples listens intently, absorbing every detail. It's a mental reconstruction, a second journey through evidence, this time with a silent, perceptive companion. This revisiting is crucial for both. Trent solidifies confidence, Couples gains his canvas for dissent. Practical example: imagine a detailed scientific presentation by a lead researcher. A peer wouldn't just read the abstract. They'd ask the researcher to walk them through experimental setup, data collection, and interpretation, step by step. This thorough review ensures no critical element is overlooked and logic remains robust. Trent is delivering his full case brief for a comprehensive, fresh appraisal. Why it matters: revisiting the case serves multiple functions. Firstly, it allows the listener and couples to fully appreciate Trent's original solution before deconstruction. Challenges might feel unearned without this recap. Secondly, it highlights Trent's intellectual prowess. This makes his later self-doubt more impactful. Finally, it primes the reader for the coming shift, creating a strong baseline. It's the calm before intellectual re-evaluation. Then, Couples points out. Chapter 15, The Revelation. Welcome back to the intricate world of Trent's last case. Chapter 15, The Revelation, is the moment we've all been waiting for. The air is thick with anticipation as threads of suspicion, doubt, and mystery finally converge. This chapter delivers the ultimate payoff, fundamentally altering our understanding of what truly transpired. Here, we witness an astonishing unveiling, the truth breaking free from the shackles of clever deception and fearful silence. It's a confession that changes everything, a pivotal shift in the entire narrative's foundation. First, consider Trent's unwavering commitment. His approaching marriage to Mabel acts as a profound personal catalyst. He simply cannot begin his new life with the Manderson case and Marlowe's unsettling involvement still unresolved. This renewed pursuit is deeply personal, driven by an urgent need for clarity and resolution, a quest for inner peace before committing to his future. Imagine a dedicated detective, nearing retirement, haunted by one unsolved cold case. Despite a comfortable future, an inescapable pull compels them to revisit that mystery. A nagging gut feeling, a minor detail, reignites the quest. They dedicate final weeks not for accolades, but for deep personal closure, needing to know every stone was turned. Trent mirrors this, prioritizing inner peace over expediency. This humanizes Trent, showing his integrity extends beyond professional duty into his core ethics. His willingness to confront Marlowe, even at this delicate personal juncture, highlights his unwavering commitment to truth, however inconvenient. It showcases a deeply ingrained moral compass. For him, it's not just solving a crime, it's about his character, Mabel's peace, and his own moral rectitude. He grapples with how Marlowe's guilt or innocence impacts his future. This cements Trent's standing as an honorable figure, willing to sacrifice immediate comfort for ultimate honesty, defining his heroism. Next, Marlowe finally explains the night of the death. This is the crucial moment of exposition, where long-held secrets are laid bare. Marlowe, no longer able to bear the immense weight of his silence or foresee any viable alternative, chooses to reveal his version of events. His words cut through the established narrative, reshaping everything we thought we knew. Picture a grand jury testimony where a witness, after months of silence, breaks down and recounts the true sequence of events, revealing previously concealed details. The immense pressure, the impending legal outcome, all culminate in this singular, revelatory moment. Why does this matter so profoundly? Because it shifts the entire narrative paradigm. The seemingly clear-cut truth is dismantled, and a new, far more complex reality emerges. This is the definitive turning point for understanding Manderson's demise and Marlowe's intricate, deeply veiled involvement. It underscores the immense power of a single, well-placed confession to unravel an entire investigation, forcing a complete re-evaluation of all prior assumptions and evidence. Then comes the stunning plot twist. Manderson was planning to frame Marlowe for a crime, but the plan went drastically wrong. This revelation exposes the ultimate betrayal, a meticulously crafted scheme that spectacularly backfired. Manderson, driven by profound malice or perhaps desperation, intended to implicate Marlowe, but fate intervened, turning the weapon, figuratively and literally, against the perpetrator himself. It's a classic case of the architect falling into his own trap. Consider a complex corporate espionage plot where one executive meticulously plans to plant incriminating evidence on a rival. However, a series of unforeseen events leads to that very evidence being discovered in the plotter's own office, implicating them instead. The best-laid schemes, indeed, often go awry. Why is this so crucial? This twist instantly reveals the underlying, dark motivation for Manderson's actions and, crucially, for Marlowe's subsequent intense secrecy. It paints Manderson in a completely new. Chapter 16, The Final Twist. Welcome back to our deep exploration of Trent's last case. We've navigated through a labyrinth of intrigue and brilliant, yet ultimately flawed, deduction. Now, as we delve into Chapter 16, The Final Twist, prepare yourselves for a revelation that truly shatters every preconception. This isn't just a conclusion, it's a profound reframing of the true cause of death, compelling us to question the very nature of truth and the entire process of detection itself. The ground Trent meticulously mapped is about to dramatically and irrevocably shift. This pivotal moment features Mr. Cupples, seemingly a minor figure, stepping into the spotlight. He provides a quiet, understated piece of information that utterly dismantles Trent's elaborate logic. Conceptual explanation: Cupples represents the overlooked detail. His trivial observation holds the key, completing a vastly different picture. It's the subtle inconsistency that, once highlighted, changes everything. Practical example: a detective focuses on footprints. Cupples mentions the victim always wore house slippers, even outdoors. This minor detail forces a complete re-evaluation of the scene. Why it matters, Couples' contribution underscores even the most astute observer's fallibility. It reminds us truths often reside in quiet minutiae, highlighting the danger of confirmation bias. This revelation is the final twist's true core. The meticulously constructed murder scene, complete with an irrefutable culprit, was an elaborate deception. Conceptual explanation: Manderson orchestrated his own death to appear as murder, specifically to incriminate Marlowe. Its posthumous manipulation, a vindictive act. It shows immense premeditation and a desire for revenge. Practical example: a dying magnate, bitter over betrayal, arranges his office. He leaves a weapon, forges a note implying a struggle with his protégé, modifies the scene, then takes his life. Aiming for legal ruin. Why it matters: this twist subverts the narrative, forcing reconsideration of every clue. It explores darkest human psychology: despair, hatred, and chilling posthumous control. It questions justice, perception, and is a masterclass in misdirection. This is the most humbling moment for our protagonist. Trent, the celebrated detective, experiences a profound reckoning. Conceptual explanation: Trent's airtight deductions were based on a misreading. He connected dots brilliantly, but his initial premise was wrong. His grand theory crumbles, revealed as an elegant but false narrative. He mistook deception for facts. Practical example: imagine Trent assembling a puzzle. He realizes he used pieces from a different puzzle, forming an erroneous image. His landscape, though convincing, is incorrect. Why it matters: this shatters Trent's confidence in his deductive prowess. It forces him to confront pure intellect's limitations against cunning deception. For the reader, it's a cautionary tale against intellectual arrogance. Brilliant minds can be misled by malicious intent. The book's title, Trent's Last Case, now takes on its full, poignant meaning. This isn't just a case, it's a turning point, a career-ending moment. Conceptual explanation: the profound impact of his misinterpretation leads Trent to an irrevocable decision: retire from detective work. It's an existential crisis and vocational transformation. He understands responsibility and harm from flawed deductions. His pride wounded, his faith in judgment shaken. His methods, while brilliant, are susceptible to cunning criminals. Practical example: a surgeon, after a flawless operation, discovers a critical error due to deliberate misrepresentation. Devastated, realizing expertise was insufficient, the surgeon leaves the operating room. Why it matters: this vow is the novel's emotional culmination. It elevates the story into a character study of humility and self-awareness. It explores intellectual failure's psychological toll and the courage to admit limitations. For the genre, it's a meta-commentary on a detective's fallibility, cementing the title. To grasp. 7-day action plan. Welcome back to Trent's last case. This chapter moves from observing Trent's struggles to actively cultivating critical deduction skills. We're beginning a 7-day action plan to sharpen your abilities. It's not just about fictional mysteries, it's about enhancing perception, challenging biases, and understanding the world with greater clarity. Transform everyday observations into profound insights. Day 1. The Art of Observation. Observation isn't just looking, it's truly seeing minute details others miss. Engage all senses, turning passive glances into active data collection. Example: in a coffee shop, notice scuff marks, the faint stale coffee scent, a barista's subtle hand tremor. Why it matters: crucial information often hides in plain sight. This keen eye registers anomalies, building a foundation for all deduction. Day 2. Questioning assumptions. Challenge everything. Our minds love shortcuts, creating narratives from the first plausible explanation. Resist accepting the obvious. Ask, what else could this mean? Example: your colleague is quiet. Don't assume they're upset. Could they be focused on a deadline, unwell, or distracted? Why it matters: assumptions are deduction's greatest enemy. They blind us. Trent often stumbled here. Systematically questioning ensures robust conclusions. Day 3. Analyzing motives. Go beyond surface actions to understand the driving force. Human behavior is complex, often rooted in desires or fears. Focus on dissecting the why. Example: a political candidate champions a new housing initiative. Ask, why this? Is it truly for welfare, or does it benefit a donor? Why it matters: actions without motives are just data points. With motives, they form coherent patterns, helping anticipate behavior. Day 4. The false lead. Learn to identify red herrings. In complex problems, distractions, misleading details, or irrelevant noise abound. Develop your radar. Example: researching history, a sensational anecdote appears. Intriguing, but does it contribute to the core narrative, or is it distracting fluff? Why it matters: false leads waste time and mental energy. Recognizing them keeps you focused, preserving analytical resources. Day 5. Emotional intelligence. Acknowledge feelings' profound impact on judgment. Emotions subtly warp our perception of facts. Recognize and mitigate this bias. Example: dislike someone, do you interpret their actions more negatively? Consider Trent's affections. How did his love for Mabel influence early deductions? Why it matters: objectivity is analysis's bedrock. Personal feelings: affection, anger, fear skew evidence, leading to flawed conclusions. Day 6. Reconstructing timelines. Practice sequencing events to find logical inconsistencies. Meticulously order happenings. Example: review an accident report. Don't just read the summary. Create a step-by-step sequence. Car A was here, then car B did this, 3 seconds later. Does the timeline make sense? Gaps? Contradictions? Why it matters: inconsistencies reveal fabrication or missing pieces. A precise timeline exposes truth. Day 7, Admitting Fallibility. Embrace being wrong as a path to truth. This hard lesson focuses on intellectual humility. Example: you've presented a strong argument, but new evidence contradicts it. Can you pivot, acknowledging your initial interpretation was flawed? Why it matters: dogged adherence to a wrong hypothesis closes doors. True deduction isn't about being initially right, it's about converging on truth. Summary: as we draw the curtain on Trent's last case, let's revisit the intricate tapestry G.K. Chesterton wove, exploring the profound themes and clever plot twists that make this novel an enduring classic. This isn't just a story, it's a masterclass in literary deception and intellectual humility, urging us to look beyond the obvious. First, let's unpack the brilliant dual nature of the narrative. It functions as both a gripping mystery and a sharp satire of detective tropes. On one hand, Chesterton delivers a genuinely perplexing whodunit, full of red herrings, unexpected turns, and the promise of a thrilling revelation. We are genuinely invested in untangling the threads of Sigsbee Manderson's mysterious death. Yet, simultaneously, the novel playfully winks at the reader, gently mocking the very genre it inhabits. Philip Trent, for all his observational brilliance, often falls prey to the same blind spots and presumptions that plague the fictional detectives he embodies. Think of a modern film like Knives Out, which offers a compelling murder mystery while featuring a quirky, somewhat over-the-top detective whose methods are themselves part of the comedic relief. The genuine suspense keeps us glued, but the commentary on the detective archetype adds a richer, more intellectual layer. This duality matters because it elevates the work beyond simple genre fiction, inviting us to critically examine the narratives we consume and the heroes we often unquestioningly idolize. It's a delightful subversion, enriching our understanding of the form. Next, the story is a profound reflection on the pervasive theme of human error and the bewildering complexity of truth. Chesterton meticulously demonstrates how initial assumptions, professional pride, and even the subtlest personal biases can profoundly distort one's perception of reality. The truth, in this world, is rarely a straightforward, singular entity waiting to be discovered. Instead, it's a multifaceted gem, often obscured by layers of misunderstanding, misinterpretation, and the sheer fallibility of human intellect. Consider the real-world scenario of a complex legal case where eyewitness testimonies diverge wildly, each person genuinely believing their account. Or an historical event with multiple conflicting narratives, all seemingly plausible. What seems obvious on the surface often conceals a far more intricate and convoluted truth beneath. This exploration of human error is vital because it urges us to question our own certainties, to cultivate intellectual humility, and to recognize that even the most astute minds can misread evidence or fall prey to self-deception. It underscores the fragility of justice and certainty when built upon incomplete or misinterpreted information, fostering a crucial skepticism. Finally, the title itself, Trent's Last Case, carries a deeply ironic and poignant weight. It isn't his last because he's retiring in triumph or bowing out in defeat. No, this case profoundly shatters his self-perception, revealing the catastrophic potential of his own intellectual hubris. Trent does solve the crime, in a sense, but in doing so, he exposes the devastating flaws in his own methodology, his own character, and his previously unshakable faith in his logical prowess. Imagine a celebrated chess grandmaster who, after a particularly grueling match, discovers a fundamental flaw in their signature opening strategy, leading them to question their entire approach to the game and potentially withdraw from competition. The victory feels hollow, overshadowed by the painful realization of personal limitation. This irony matters immensely because it serves as a powerful cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked ego and the destructive nature of intellectual arrogance. It reminds us that true wisdom often stems not from unwavering confidence, but from recognizing our own limitations, embracing self-doubt as a catalyst for deeper understanding, and accepting the potential for error, even in moments of apparent success. It transforms what might have been a simple. Thank you for listening to this audiobook. If you found value, meaning, or inspiration in this journey, please remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next chapter. Your support helps us bring more timeless classics to life. See you in the next reading.